Right, guys, so it ain't looking too good for Jay-Z and Beyonce in regards to brunch, whatever dinner they're doing. The certain people that they have selected to be a part of their dinner table has upset a lot of their fans or just people online, because the pictures have been released and people are definitely shocked.
When the world first saw the leaked photos, jaws dropped. There was Beyonce, the queen herself, glowing in her trademark elegance, seated beside Jay-Z, the mogul who built an empire from Brooklyn streets to billionaire status. But what turned the internet upside down wasn't just seeing Jay-Z and Beyonce. At another high-profile event, it was the company they chose to keep at their table. Front and center, clear as day, sat Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner. That wasn't just a dinner snapshot. That was a scandal frozen in time. Because when Beyonce and Jay-Z, two of the most influential names in black culture, sat smiling with Jared Kushner, a man who openly suggested transforming Gaza into a playground for real estate buyers. It wasn't just dinner, it was betrayal in high definition. The backlash was instant. Fans who have always held Beyonce as a symbol of inclusivity and power, and who respected Jay-Z as a business genius, suddenly felt slapped across the face. Caught in 4K, people wrote across social media, not them laughing with Jared Kushner while Palestine burns. Every corner of Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram erupted. Some defended Beyonce and Jay-Z, saying optics don't mean everything. But others asked the question that hung heavy in the air. Why would Jay-Z and Beyonce even allow Jared Kushner at their table? This wasn't just a random invite. This wasn't an accident. The event was organized under their own umbrella, and Jay-Z and Beyonce personally control who gets in and who stays out. Which means Jared Kushner wasn't just present, he was chosen. He was given a seat next to Beyonce, while Jay-Z raised glasses in the same circle. The contradiction was undeniable. For years, Beyonce built her image around empowerment, inclusivity, and social justice. For years, Jay-Z positioned himself as a leader for reform, even investing in prison reform campaigns and positioning himself as a voice for the voiceless. But now, with Ivanka Trump sipping wine just steps away from Beyonce, with Jared Kushner grinning beside Jay-Z, that entire image cracked, and the internet wasted no time dragging them. It's always guilty by association until it's your fave, one fan wrote. Another said, you can't preach about equality and sit with people who openly support genocide. Others blasted the hypocrisy. Beyonce singing freedom with Kendrick Lamar means nothing. If she's eating steak with Jared Kushner, every tweet, every post, every meme turned into fuel in this time. Jay-Z and Beyonce couldn't hide behind silence. But this scandal didn't just expose Jay-Z and Beyonce. It pulled in everyone around them, because seated at that same table was Desiree Perez, the CEO and co-founder of Roc Nation, the right-hand woman to Jay-Z, the power broker who has long been considered untouchable in the music industry. But now, as fans zoomed in on the photo, questions erupted. Desiree Perez wasn't just in the background, she was front and center, trying to save face while she herself was battling brutal legal wars. Desiree Perez has been drowning in litigation with Demoria Hadley, and the courtroom battles have been far from kind. The headlines say it all. Desiree Perez is losing ground. Every filing, every counter motion chips away at her power. And yet, there she was, sitting proudly with Beyonce and Jay-Z, as if nothing was happening behind closed doors. Fans weren't blind to it. Why is Desiree Perez smiling at a gala when she's being obliterated in court? One viral tweet asked. It was a reminder that this dinner wasn't just optics gone wrong, it was arrogance. It was power showing its true face, and it only got worse. Because once you put Jay-Z, Beyonce, Ivanka Trump, Jared Kushner, and Desiree Perez in the same frame, you open the floodgates for every old wound to resurface. People dragged up Nicki Minaj, reminding everyone that Nicki Minaj had once been close to Jay-Z and Beyonce before she cut ties. Why? Because, according to Nicki Minaj, money was mishandled, tours were mismanaged, and deals turned dirty. Fans connected the dots. This is why Nicki Minaj distanced herself. She saw the snakes before we did, and suddenly, the dinner wasn't just about politics, it was about music industry betrayal, about shady business, about Jay-Z and Beyonce being exposed as part of the system they claimed to fight. The anger didn't stop at names. People started dragging history into the spotlight. So Jay-Z raps about OJ, but he's fine with Jared Kushner? One fan snapped, So Beyonce calls herself Queen of Black Empowerment, but eats with the Trumps? These weren't just critiques. These were wounds opening. And once the wound is open, the bleeding doesn't stop. What made it sting more was the silence. As millions debated the dinner, Beyonce and Jay-Z stayed quiet. No statement, no apology, no clarification. And that silence spoke louder than any press release. It said, "We don't need to answer. We're too powerful to explain." And that silence became its own scandal. Because when Beyonce and Jay-Z refused to respond, fans decided to interpret it for themselves. Too many. It wasn't silence, it was arrogance. It was a message. We're laughing in your faces, and you'll still buy our albums, our tickets, our Ivy Park, our champagne. The photos went viral, racking up millions of views, dissected frame by frame. Every meme compared Beyonce and Jay-Z to rulers dining while the empire burns. Every caption turned into a weapon. Your faves are frauds, one post read. And just like that, the once bulletproof image of Beyonce and Jay-Z was pierced. Not destroyed, but pierced. Because if there's one thing the public hates, it's hypocrisy. Still, as bad as it looked, the scandal revealed something else. Money speaks louder than morals. Fans began to ask the real question. Do Jay-Z and Beyonce even care anymore? They're billionaires. They're buying estates around the world. They're securing legacy wealth for their children. If sitting with Jared Kushner tarnishes their brand, does it even matter when their pockets are already overflowing? That's the part that hurts fans most. The realization that maybe Jay-Z and Beyonce don't care. Maybe they've ascended beyond caring. And yet, no matter how high they climb, scandals follow. Because as soon as a spotlight dimmed on the dinner, the light turned to another storm brewing. Diddy's legal war with the government. Even though Jay-Z wasn't in the courtroom, his name circled in whispers. Fans noticed Diddy is collapsing, but Jay-Z is thriving. And some say, behind closed doors, one man's fall is another man's opportunity. But before we get there, we have to ask, what happens when the mask finally slips? Because this dinner wasn't just a dinner, it was a mirror. And in that mirror, fans didn't just see Jay-Z and Beyonce. They saw the truth. Beyonce. They saw the truth. The fallout from that dinner table photo didn't stop with Jay-Z and Beyonce trending. It rippled across the industry, pulling in names that had once been close but now stood far apart. And no name was louder in the aftermath than Nicki Minaj. For years, fans knew Nicki Minaj had distanced herself from Jay-Z and Beyonce. But the reason always seemed cloudy, whispered about in the corners of industry gossip. Now, with Jay-Z and Beyonce exposed for sitting comfortably beside Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner, fans reconnected the dots. This wasn't just politics. It was business. It was betrayal. Nicki Minaj had spoken about money that mysteriously vanished, about tour funds that seemed to slip through the cracks, about deals that felt more like traps than opportunities. Back then, some dismissed it as bitterness. But now, in the cold light of those dinner photos, her words hit different. This is why Nicki Minaj walked away. Fans tweeted, "She saw the snakes before the rest of us did." And with every retweet, with every clip of Nicki Minaj shading Jay-Z or side-eyeing Beyonce, the narrative grew stronger. Maybe Nicki Minaj wasn't crazy. Maybe she was the only one telling the truth. But while Nicki Minaj's distance cast suspicion on the empire of Jay-Z and Beyonce, another storm brewed louder and darker. The crumbling empire of Diddy for decades. Diddy was untouchable, the flashy mogul, the life of the party, the king of celebrations where the industry elite gathered under his rules. But as lawsuits piled up, as accusations turned into court filings, Diddy's empire cracked wide open, and through it all, the silence of Jay-Z and Beyonce was deafening. Because here's the truth, while Diddy drowned, Jay-Z rose higher. While Diddy's name was dragged through every headline, Jay-Z and Beyonce sat smiling at tables with billionaires. And fans couldn't help but notice, it almost looked like a trade-off, as if one titan was being sacrificed so another could thrive. Was it coincidence? Or was it calculated? In Hollywood and music and power circles, nothing happens by chance. The courtroom battle between Diddy's defense and the government exposed even more cracks. The defense fought to reveal non-testifying witnesses, demanding transparency, while the prosecution scrambled to hold the line. With more incoming, the prosecutor who pushed hardest suddenly gone, the government looked weaker, and that weakness fueled whispers. If Diddy falls, one fan wrote, who gains? all eyes turned back to Jay-Z. Because while Diddy was erased from events, from projects, from the Reform Alliance Gala, Jay-Z was front and center, leading the charge. That gala itself spoke volumes. Branded as Reform, hosted by Jay-Z, Beyonce and Michael Rubin, it raised millions. But fans didn't see Reform. They saw hypocrisy. They saw Jay-Z smiling beside Beyonce. They saw Michael Rubin stepping in as a new face of celebration. They saw power replacing power. And what shook people most was how seamless it all looked, as if Diddy had never existed. As if his erasure was planned, as if the torch had already been passed. Enter Michael Rubin. To casual fans, he's just a billionaire businessman, close to athletes and rappers, the man behind the infamous white parties. But to those watching closely, Michael Rubin's rise feels strategic. Because the moment Diddy's downfall was sealed, the white parties didn't stop. They simply shifted hands. And who stood by Michael Rubin's side? Jay-Z, Beyonce, Meek Mill, the same faces, the same rituals, the same laughter. As if the party itself wasn't just entertainment, but a tradition, a requirement. Something that had to continue no matter who hosted. That's what unsettles people. That's why fans whisper about rituals and symbolism. Because if it were just about fun, the parties would end with Diddy. But they didn't instead. They grew bigger, flashier, and now carry the seal of Michael Rubin. With Jay-Z and Beyonce smiling in every photo. Why does the party have to go on? Fans asked, what's being celebrated here? And why do these gatherings look less like parties and more like rituals? The optics are haunting. On one side, Beyonce performs at global stages, crowned as a symbol of black excellence. On the other side, she sits with Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner, her smile frozen as cameras flash. On one stage, Jay-Z preaches about reform and freedom. On another, he clinks glasses with billionaires while Diddy disappears from the frame. It's this double image that fans can't shake. Because if Jay-Z and Beyonce truly believe in everything they project, why do they always end up in rooms that tell the opposite story? And then came the final twist, silence. Again, Jay-Z and Beyonce offered no explanations, no interviews, no clarifications. And once more, the silence spoke louder than words. To their loyal fans, silence feels like betrayal. To their critics, silence feels like proof. Because if Jay-Z and Beyonce had nothing to hide, why not speak? Why not clear the air? Why not set the record straight? Unless, of course, the truth is worse than the speculation. The conversations online only grew darker. They're not role models, one fan wrote. They're billionaires protecting billionaires. Others said, Beyonce and Jay-Z don't care about us. They only care about staying powerful. The same words echoed over and over. Frauds, hypocrites. Exposed still as the criticism grew. So did the fascination? Because even in scandal, Jay-Z and Beyonce remain magnets. People can't look away. Whether it's Nicki Minaj calling out past betrayals, Diddy collapsing in court, or Michael Rubin rising with the torch of celebration, the common thread is always the same. Jay-Z and Beyonce in the center, unmoved, untouchable, unbothered. But here's the real cliffhanger. How long can the silence last? Because every photo, every dinner, every partnership, every smile carries meaning. And the more the internet dissects, the more the cracks spread. If part 1 showed Jay-Z and Beyonce sitting at the wrong table, part 2 shows a larger pattern, a cycle of replacing, of rituals, of power being passed like currency. So the question isn't just why Jay-Z and Beyonce sat with Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner. The real question is, what do Jay-Z and Beyonce gain from always being in the room? Where controversy lives, are they victims of optics? Or are they architects of something bigger? Something fans were never meant to see. Because one thing is clear, whether it's the downfall of Diddy, the rise of Michael Rubin, or the silence of Jay-Z and Beyonce, the show isn't over. It's only beginning. And for the first time in decades, fans aren't just asking about the music, they're asking about the truth. They're asking about the truth.